Another product of nicotine replacement is an inhaler. It's a little bit newer than the patch or gum are, and some people might not be aware of it. It's designed to use with a small canister that contains nicotine in it. Should again be stored at room temperature because the nicotine is produced into a vapor that's breathed into the mouth. If it's too cold or too hot, it won't work in a reliable fashion. The device itself looks very much like a cigarette, and it has two small lines on it that are lined up to open. Inside it's hollow, and the user would take the foil package, which contains a cartridge with nicotine bound onto a resin. It's a little bit noisy, and so if someone's trying to use it discreetly, they might find it's too noisy. You pop out one of the canisters, which is sealed at both ends with tin foil, and put it inside the device. Whoops. There we go. Push it in. Put the end piece on, and by lining up the two marks on the device, I've inserted it. I now move it, so they're not aligned anymore. And this causes puncturing to occur on that small canister, so both ends of the foil are now open, so I can use the nicotine that's in here. I put it up to my mouth. I inhale with very short puffs. About 10 of them are suggested, and I hold the air in my mouth so that it's going to be absorbed again by the blood vessels in my mouth. The puffing action, unlike a cigarette where someone inhales, takes a deep breath and often holds it into their lungs, which that's often an action we see when people are smoking. Instead, I'm taking short puffs. It would be like this if someone wishes to use it. Holding the air in their mouth for several seconds so the nicotine can be absorbed. On the box, the manufacturer suggests that you can either take 5 short puffs, 10 long puffs, and people can use the device to give them up to 20 minutes of nicotine use from a single device. So if I'm only using it for 5 minutes, they suggest I could use it 4 times before I needed a new little canister put in it. If I use it for 10 minutes at a time, I might be able to use the same little canister for 2 times to give me a total of 20 minutes in. So again, just to show you, by putting my lips on the canister this time, we always want to show people, if we can, the exact way of using something so they don't become confused. But I would put my lips on the end, that's the mouthpiece, and inhale short, quick breaths. By doing that, you can feel when the nicotine hits the inside of your mouth. You can feel it, and you can hold it in your mouth at the back of your throat to allow the nicotine to be absorbed. If someone had consumed an acid beverage like coffee, tea, juice, or pop, that makes an unfriendly environment for the nicotine to be absorbed, so you wouldn't want to do that. If possible, for 15 minutes before you use the inhaler during the time you are using it, or for 15 minutes after. Breathing and holding the air in your lungs is not the way the device was tested, so it's unreliable to say how it would give someone a beneficial effect of relieving their nicotine withdrawal symptoms. So the manufacturer does recommend the strategy of using it that way. The number of pieces of the number of little canisters that they could use in a day is printed on the box. But I find people tend to use very few of these when they're using them. They are slightly more expensive than the other oral forms, as in gum and lozenges. Keep them safely away from children and animals. Because someone might have had this in their mouth, it might be attractive to them. You can wash this mouthpiece with soap and water if you want to make it clean. And to remove a used canister, you pull it apart. You can see it's been punctured on both ends. There's still that little resin pellet inside which contains the nicotine bound onto it. And if I want to dispose of it safely, it would be best if I place it inside a container that has a lid on it, so no one can get a hold of it and accidentally ingest the resin. It could be harmful to a child or a small animal if they used it. The manufacturer in Canada recently came out with a black colored inhaler, a little bit less discreet if you were in a dark environment, so someone might find that a useful feature. And it's definitely an appealing device to some people because of having it in your hand and fiddling around with it. Some people just like to have the device. It's their security blanket that they can use it whenever they need to. A few extra points that we want to mention are that these canisters, as well as being protected from heat and cold, should not be exposed to light. So they should be stored upside down to protect them, or in a drawer or a pocket, somewhere that they're not going to be exposed to light. The device itself reinforces the hand-to-mouth motion that a lot of people are used to when they're smoking a cigarette, having packages and things like that. So in itself, that makes it an effective tool in stopping using cigarettes. If someone develops a dry throat from puffing so much or puffing in a different manner that they're used to, irritated or dry throat, having a sip of water might help to get rid of that sensation. So it might make it a more suitable form for them to use their nicotine replacement in.